There are a million different ways to pick or recommend a Linux distro or a Linux desktop. You can find one of these random listicle sites, and a lot of them are just making things up, but just go through the list, try things out, and see what you like. You can ask an LLM, pick your favorite, they're all going to do an equally questionable job. You can just go and copy your favorite YouTuber. Don't even think about it. Just ask them what they use and just use their setup. A lot of people also go and just post all of their configuration online anyway, so you can just straight up copy everything they do. Or I guess you can just randomly pick things. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. You can always just try out something different if you don't vibe with it. But I recently came across a new and kind of cute little way to recommend a Linux distro, and that is Distrofighter. Now, this should be the title of the project, but it's kind of poetic that it is not rendering correctly in Florp. It does it fine in Chromium. Don't know why it's not working now. This is a simple little quiz and game sort of thing that pits these different projects against each other and then gives you a couple of picks at the end. So first round through, I'm going to answer this as I would normally answer it, and then I'll go through again as more of like a intermediate or beginner user. So let us check it out. How would you rate your Linux experience level? So for me, I wouldn't say I live in the terminal. I typically don't use the terminal as much as a lot of other people, but I am very familiar with using it. I do actively use the terminal. I just acknowledge that GUIs are a more convenient way to do a lot of things. What's this machine mainly for? Everyday office, gaming, dev and server work, security, and pen testing. So I only have one main machine. I game on it, I do some dev work on it. I don't really do any security stuff. I do everyday desktop and office stuff. So the main thing I do here is going to be the first one. Software fresh or stable. Rock solid, don't care if it's old. A sensible balance, newest and bleeding edge. I wouldn't say bleeding edge. I'm not really a fan of using that phrasing. Bleeding edge typically means, the latest git commit, the latest possible version of the software. But if we're talking about the latest stable version, yeah, that's definitely what I try to go for. There are a few exceptions where I hold things back, but typically this is what I'll do. The only exceptions being things like OBS, where I might have some extensions I rely on, and I want to make sure those extensions actually are supported on that newer version. That's more of just like a work kind of thing though. What's the hardware like? Old and low spec, modern, plenty of power. Right now I am running a 9800 X3D and a 6750 XT. So I think it's pretty fair to say that it is modern and plenty of power. Even my old system, which was a 3600X, even that, I would still call that relatively modern. How much do you want to tinker? It should just work. Some controller's nice. Total control, I'll build it up. This is one of the things I really like about Arch Linux. I like having this system where I can piece things together. Yes, it's going to be a little jank, and yes, some things aren't going to work correctly, and yes, I'm going to try to run some feature, and I'm going to be missing a module. However, it's mine. I can't say that a pre-installed, pre-set up Fedora system is truly my system. Even if it's bad, it is mine. And for me, that is really important. What kind of distro suits you? Easy and familiar, built for Windows switchers, polished and designed first, Mac-like, lean and no nonsense, gaming ready, out of the box. Again, for me, I like lean and no nonsense. I like something which is pretty much as simple as possible, at least for my main system. If I was talking about a gaming machine, I'd probably go with something more akin to a Fedora. If I was talking about like a benchmarking system, or I have a second machine down here that I can just install random distros on, but that's more of a testing machine, not something I really want to configure from the ground up. So for me, lean and no nonsense. A knit system, any preference. System D is fine or no preference. I'd rather avoid System D. I don't care. If I happen to be on a distro that didn't use System D, would it change my life? No. I don't use anything which directly relies on System D. For me, it doesn't matter. I do think this is a question which maybe could be rephrased for a new Linux user. Maybe having the System D is fine and then no preference, or I don't know what System D is, as like a third option down the bottom here. So we'll go with this one. System style, traditional, a normal, editable system, immutable, atomic, locked base, easy rollbacks. On my main system, I would go with something traditional. I am not the biggest fan of immutable systems on something where you really want to like dig into the weeds of the system. If it's a work laptop, if it's a gaming machine, absolutely. But I like to break this system, right? I like things to go wrong because that's an excuse to talk about things. Anyway, let's select that one. And now it generates the fight. Round 1. Here are all of the selections it goes with, and we are now going to go into the actual fight segment, the quarterfinals, and now you get to see why I thought this is kind of a little bit cute. You have these, you have these little tuxes who are boxing it out, who are giving different reasons why this might be a good choice. Now, the reasons are kind of not really relevant to your answers, so it's kind of this more little fun fight kind of thing. And you will, I think, hopefully at some point, see things, maybe not with this one, see things kind of go in a way where the fights become very predictable. Obviously, Arch was going to win that one. Debian had absolutely no choice. Artix versus PopWest. I think with the selection I selected this time, this one should show what I mean. I'll just cut ahead to when that's done. Okay, here's what I mean. It basically has them on the ropes, and every time you see on the ropes, that means that one is going to end up winning every single time. I think there's some modifications you could make here to make the fights less obviously predictable, because once you go through this more than one time, you know exactly how pretty much every fight is going to play out. Anytime there is like a, ooh, wow, why is the one that should obviously win? Like EndeavorOS here, it digs in and holds, and then even though it was obviously much lower, now suddenly this is going to do like 9 damage. Yeah, there you go. Now suddenly the numbers just completely go out of the window. So as a little game, it could probably be improved in that regard, but at the end of the day, it doesn't actually matter. And if you want to, you can just fast forward through them and watch the fights just automatically play through. So now we have the semi-finals, can do the same thing again. I'm just going to fast forward through all of them. We know how this is obviously going to go. I'm actually kind of surprised that Endeavor doesn't make it further than PopOS. Arch Linux is obviously going to be the winner with what we selected. There couldn't be a better option, but it isn't just what the winner is. It also includes any of those finalists as well. So if you don't like Arch, it's going to give you your reasons here. Why Arch won? You want a lean, no-nonsense distro. You want bleeding-edge software. You want total control. You can then go and try out Arch. And if you're not really happy with Arch, well, go to the next suggestion, and the next suggestion, and the next suggestion, and this will give you like a baseline to work from, right? It's going to cut down that massive list of distros that a lot of people find really overwhelming. Now, the next part here, this is for the desktop. Let's find out where it's going to go here. How do you like to move between tasks? One desktop click around, Windows and Mac style, fast workspace switching, one app per screen, tile everything, keyboard driven. Well, right now I'm actually running KDE. I do like KDE. I don't typically run one app per screen. Of these options, I think you could possibly add some more stuff here, but of these options, I would say tile everything, keyboard driven. Resource budget for the desktop. Featherlight, every megabyte counts, balanced or loaded machine, bring the eye candy. Ever since I swapped back to Plasma, I'm running Oxygen, right? So I wouldn't say Featherlight, every megabyte counts. I've never really been in that boat, but I'm also not someone who runs like a million different blingy things on it. I tend to like tone down animations, things like that. So I'm going to go with balanced here. How much setup are you up for? Perfect out of the box. A little config is fine. I'll build it from a blank canvas. I do like having a default config, but at the same time, a lot of my experience on Linux has been building it up from a blank canvas. I'm going to say this time, though, just because I'm on KDE, a little config is fine. Preferred look, classic and functional, sleek and modern, bare and minimal. I tend to bounce between these 2 points. I don't really care about the sleek and modern, flat design, oh wow, gotta love that. Nah, it's not really my thing. So I'm gonna go... Let's go classic and functional this time. Display server, this should have a I don't know what either of these things are, I don't care. So I'm gonna go with Wayland. And now it's going to generate the fight again. We are just going to skip through everything with a fast forward. I think it's already set to fast forward. Yes? Yes, okay. So Sway wins first round. KD Plasma gets knocked out immediately. Hyperland gets the win. Ecstasy also wins. Why does Ecstasy win there with Wayland being the selection? That's a very strange choice. Hold up. Wait, what is actually happening here? Sway is the winner. Sway is the winner. You want to tile everything by keyboard, okay. You are fine with little config, okay. You prefer Wayland. I don't know how Ecstasy even managed to get on that list. Like, that's not Wayland. That seems like a slight problem with the quiz there. Maybe it's just weighting this so much higher? I don't know. But either way, here is our suggestions. I would not put Qtile on this list. Qtile is so weird to be on this quiz. I've gotten Qtile in the finals twice now. I don't know anyone who's still running Qtile. Let us try one more time. This time is more of a beginner sort of user. Again, this is still broken. Let's say I'm new to Linux. I use it for, let's just say, everyday stuff. I want something which is a sensible balance. I have a modern system. I don't really want to tinker. And I want something that is familiar and Windows-like. I don't really care about System D. And let's go a traditional system, because I heard that immutable systems are kind of hard to work with. Okay. What are we going to do this time? Okay, I'm seeing some good options in there. Definitely seeing some good options in there. There are some immutable options here, so presumably those are going to get knocked out. Okay. Solus is on the list. Okay, right. Let's not that one. Let's fast forward that. Pop! OS is gone. Okay. Mint is there. Fair. Kubuntu. Solus gets knocked out. Okay. Okay. Just I had to be sure about that one. Solus is not a recommendation I would make for a new user. Okay. You know what? Okay, this actually seems like... What do we need as the winner? Zorin? Okay. Zorin is a... It is a very popular recommendation that people make. You want an everyday desktop. You want an easy, familiar distro for Windows switches. You want it to just work. So we have Zorin, Mint, Kubuntu, and Elementary OS. Elementary OS I generally wouldn't put on that list. I'd probably put, honestly, just regular Ubuntu on there over Elementary. But sure, okay. But I guess if you want something that's kind of Windows-like, it makes... I don't know. It doesn't... Either way, it doesn't really make a ton of sense, but it is the fourth option. I think these first three recommendations are pretty reasonable recommendations. Basically, anything that is easy to use that is not Fedora KDE is going to have an older version of KDE. And Fedora KDE, I don't really think fits in for something necessarily for someone who's like an absolute beginner user. So I can see this recommendation, but Mint and Zorin also, I think those are reasonable choices as well. Let us see about the desktop. Now, Zorin only ships GNOME and XSCE, but let's see what the desktop side's going to do. How do I like to move between tasks? Let's go Windows and Mac style, resource budget. I'm going to go balanced. I don't really care about it being super light. I don't really care about the eye candy. So just a regular machine. Let's go perfect out of the box. Let's say I like the classic and functional look. I don't really care about it being sleek and modern. And let's go Wayland because I heard this Wayland thing. Again, I would probably go with a no preference here as a third option, but I'm going to go with Wayland. And let's see what it does this time. Oh. It's going to jump right to the final. Well. I see. Actually, I hadn't tested it with Zorin being a selection. So if you only have a few options, it's only going to go with the ones from that final choice. So XSC and GNOME here. We can play again, but only doing the desktop, so it doesn't have that limitation. Let's try this again and see what it actually goes with this time. Okay. KDE Plasma, Cinnamon, GNOME, Mate, XSC, Deepin, Budgie, and Cosmic. Okay. And fast forward. XSCE. Makes sense. KDE Plasma over Budgie. Okay. Cinnamon over Cosmic. And GNOME over Mate. Okay. Mate is very much a old school design, and it's kind of hard to get your hands on like a distro shipping Mate at this point, because Ubuntu Mate is semi-dead. Not completely. Okay, so it's going to go with XSCE here. I did say Wayland, but I guess it must be lowering the value of that selection. XSCE, KDE Plasma, Cinnamon, and GNOME. Honestly, totally reasonable recommendations. I wouldn't put them in this order, but again, like I said before, when you have these multiple choices, you can always just go down the list and see what you like. I think picking the desktop first, in a lot of cases, is actually a better choice, just because the desktop is the thing you're going to be mainly interacting with. So pick a desktop you like, and then find the distro that ships everything else you want. I would probably put someone on... honestly, if you're in like the Ubuntu ecosystem, yeah, you're going to have an older version of KDE, but you are going to have... you're going to have all of these options. Or you could... if you're willing to mess around with Fedora a bit and like kind of learn stuff, especially if you're not on NVIDIA, it's much better. You could put someone in the Fedora ecosystem as well, and they could mess around with all of these and pretty much get something they want. I would generally, as my first recommendation, put someone on Plasma, but either way, I think these are all good choices. Outside of the game, they also have a stat breakdown as well. So if you want to see what other people are going with, you can check this as well. Top distro ends up being Fedora. I don't know what I'm doing wrong then. And top desktop is GNOME. Now, you know what? This is not going to be a GNOME hate video. Nope, we're not doing it here. Nope, not going to happen this time. Anyway, if you go down to the who picks what, it actually has the different distros broken down by what people answer to a question. So if you don't really care about going through the entire quiz, and you just want to know, oh, I'm new to Linux, what's a good recommendation? Mint, Zorin, Bazzite. Okay. I have an old system. Ubuntu, MX Linux, Debian. Okay. I want to have total control. Arch Linux, NixOS, EndeavourOS. All of these are, I think, good recommendations, even without going through the rest of the quiz, just having that one question there with what other people end up going with, because oftentimes if you're answering a question a certain way, you're going to be answering the rest of the questions in a similar way as well. So you don't necessarily have to go through the entire thing to even just get a relatively good recommendation in my opinion. There's also a further stat breakdown on how many people select each different option, but when it comes to the desktops, they don't have that similar kind of thing where someone answers one question and it tells you the rest of what they are looking for. This, I think, is a missed opportunity. I think doing this same thing with the desktops would also be a really neat idea. However, there is this fun little tidbit down the bottom as well. X11 and Wayland, which strangely aligns with every other metric of X11 and Wayland. Interesting. What a neat coincidence. There's one more thing here, and that is the campaign. And the campaign, I don't really understand the point of it. It's kind of like this semi-tutorial kind of thing, where it's this story, and then you have this system, and then, like, it basically tries to teach you and encourage you to do things in the terminal. I think it's not really as important as, like, the main thing here, but I guess it's kind of neat as well if, I guess, you want to play an actual kind of game alongside of it. So, as I said at the start, there are a bunch of different ways to recommend a Linux distro. None of them are the right way. Every single one of them is going to have different recommendations that different kind of people would balance things in different ways. But if you want a bit of a fun one, here you go. So if you want to add this to your repertoire of recommendations, I'll leave it linked down below. And hey, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, well, as I said, there's a bunch of other things you can use as well. So let me know your thoughts down below. If you like the video, go like the video, go subscribe as well. And if you really like the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out the Patreon, Scribes, Daily Bearer Pay, linked in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and what do you recommend?
Something like this.